This episode of No Time Like Joe Time is sponsored by Fate in Flames on Kindle Vella. Rena has grown up sheltered and cut off from the world, caring for her ailing mother. When fate catches up with her, she is thrust into a world of magic and intrigue she never knew existed, and a heritage she is not quite sure of. Read Fate in Flames on Kindle Vella.
Welcome to No Time Like Joe Time, where TV gets deep for no reason. I'm Generic Joe, here to say the same thing each time before you listen to an episode. You can find No Time Like Joe Time wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. I'm just that generous and kind of a guy. Please rate, please like, subscribe, and comment, because I'm magic. It also really helps grow the show, and I love the conversations I'm having. So maybe you can help your old friend Joe. Now, if you, and I mean just you, want to be a guest, you can email me at notimelikejoetime@gmail.com. Love to have you on, figure out what show you like, and then we'll have a meaningful discussion. All right, let's get to the episode.
Like what you are listening to? Check out Lazenlow on Spotify Music, a new and upcoming local band from Minnesota.
I'm going to First Avenue, what can I do?
Welcome to No Time Like Joe Time, where we crash our car into media in the parking lot and take life lessons from the dinged shows. I'm your host, Joe Johnson, and today I'm looking at Bob's Burgers. Each week I have a new guest on the show to help me discuss those episodes. Today I have a wonderful person on. She's guaranteed to brighten your day. Please welcome Andy Bonkowski.
Oh, hi, Joe.
Oh, Andy, hi. Hey, I'm so sorry. I was trying to reach out to you. Actually, I am hoping to push the podcast back an hour and a half. I got in last minute to get my chest waxed.
Oh, yeah, no problem. What made you want to decide to wax your chest, if I may ask?
Yeah, of course. So originally I kind of felt uncomfortable about, the idea of getting waxed. I kind of thought it was just for girls, but then I decided, you know what? I really wanted to feel calm relaxation that comes along with waxing.
Oh, nice. But did you say calm relaxation? That's not really what I think of when I hear waxing.
Oh, really? Well, I've heard nothing but good things. I was going to go for the hot stone massage and then saw the waxing option. And I figured they were both basically the same.
No. Waxing is not the same. It can be very painful. I mean, it's going to hurt your chest a lot. I don't think that's going to be relaxing.
I don't know where you've gone, but I skimmed the spa treatment, and right underneath the hot stone massage is waxing. Now, I don't think they would put that on the spa menu if it hurts.
I would look online about that. I really need you to know what you're getting into.
No time. I'll meet you back in an hour.
One painful hour later.
Joe, are you okay?
Okay, but I think I'm bleeding from my eyes. You may have been right about this whole waxing thing.
I'm sorry, Joe. I tried to warn you.
It's cool. I got a new thing tomorrow that will help. I'm getting to go to the doctor for pro state of mind. He just calls it prostate.
Do you mean prostate?
Yep.
Are you getting a prostate exam?
Yep. I can't wait for the calm.
Joe, Please look up prostate exam, please.
Okay, just let me. Oh, God! So I've learned that the more sillier the bit, the better it's going to look on promos. And this wasn't too bad because I know you, but I've been getting some guests to come on, and I have no idea why they're coming on. But I had one guy who he's got his own prop studio. He's worked with like Marvel films, Disney films, Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon.
Wow.
I've had a like author on. She was a professor for like 15 years, had a bunch of academic publishing. That one I was nervous because she was the first person I knew, and I was like, "You want to do the script with?" I was so nervous. But she was really into improv, but I was so nervous that one of the bits is, so we did the Andy Griffith show, and one of the scenes was Barney Fi was like pretending he knew everything when he knew nothing. And so that was kind of the bit. So I was upselling myself. And one of my lines was, nice to have a fellow professor on here. And then it was like professor of like the mic or something dumb. And she was so like, her line was, oh, I know you're a professor, but she was so like good at it. She was like, oh, you are a professor. I was like, no, not really. It's just part of the joke. and she goes, I know, that's the script.
She really sold it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Then there was the one where I came out as a WWE wrestler. You can't see it. It's a wig.
I can't see.
There we go.
Oh, nice. I love it.
So commitment all the way.
For sure.
But yeah, I have to say the number one show that is always requested is Bob's Burgers. Like it's the most like I'll either get like, oh, I want this show or a list of shows. And Bob's Burgers shows up. If anybody gives me a list, there's 99% chance Bob's Burgers is going to be in there. So have you watched The Great North?
I have not, but is it by the same animation company? Okay.
Yep. It's somebody told me it's basically Bob's Burgers, but they're in Alaska.
Okay. I like that.
So it's been pretty good. One thing before we get started and start talking about these clips is I always like to ask each guest what your history is with the show and why you chose it. So what's your history with Bob's Burgers? When did you start watching it and why did you want to pick it?
Oh my gosh. I started watching Bob's Burgers probably when I was a teenager, for sure. And I really enjoy dry, very witty, quick humor. I love the awkwardness of it. I love the dynamics between the family of like Linda and Bob, their marriage, but also their relationship with their kids is so perfect. And it is just like I know once I put it on the TV, it will always bring a smile to my face every time. So
nice. That's awesome.
Yeah, big fan.
I remember watching the first episode and I was unsure about it when it first came on because I'm like, this animation looks pretty clunky. I don't know, but like by the end of the first episode, I'm like, I think there's something here. I think there's something good. And my favorite character instantly became Tina.
For sure.
I was at a Comic-Con and somebody dressed up as Tina and I was like, oh, That's and so
That's awesome.
I've been watching. I haven't watched it a lot recently, but
Hmm.
I there's part of me that really hopes I kind of have the same dynamic with that Bob has with his kids, with my kids.
Right. Yeah.
And I think it's kind of already starting because they gave me a lot of grief. I will say this feels very out of the Bob's Burgers scenario that happened to me recently. So there was this old song I will sing to my boys if they're not getting their way. It's the Yay Boo song. And it goes,
Okay.
yay boo, so much fun to do. If you like it, you holler yay. If you don't, you holler boo. And I I do that, like, oh well, you holler boo, I guess. So
I love it.
I was getting ready for work one day, and my 8-year-old Jack comes, he grabs my deodorant and leaves the bathroom, and I was like, okay. And then a minute later, I hear my youngest son, James, who's 6, he yells, Dad, Jack's using your deodorant on his balls. And I go, Jack, what the heck, man? And he sings the Yay Boo song to me. And I couldn't even be mad. I was like, well done.
Yeah. Got it.
Yes, definitely.
That's so cute. That's so cute.
So it cracked me up. And it's funny how kids work too. And it kind of reminds me of this Bob's Burgers clip where right now, like, my son needs me to do a lot of stuff with him. Like, he's kind of going through his phase. He's like, can you sit by me when I'm in bed? Can you, like, my youngest, they both have this. I mean, I think it's normal for kids. Like, they'll go upstairs and they'll be like, can you talk to me the whole time? And I'm like, well, what's that going to do? If there's like a bear up there, me talking to you isn't going to prevent him from attacking you. But it reminds me of this Bob's Burger episode, which we're going to watch, of a time where Bob was very much there for his daughter. And it may have been the inspiration for our opening bit. So we will watch that and then we will discuss.
I shaved that part.
You must have been very determined.
Thank you.
Okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna put the hot wax on your legs. And then we put these strips on your legs and pull them off. And it kinda hurts. A lot.
Dad! I don't know if I can do this. Dad, you have to do it with me.
What? No way.
Yes, it's like when you got that flu shot to show me it was okay.
Yeah, that was brave of me. But
please? No. I know I act tough, but I'm not.
Oh my God, the crying. Okay, I'll do it.
Yay, scrotal wax!
No, gee, not scrotal, just leg.
Oh.
Oh gosh, that is
Amazing.
commitment. And there's so many things I like about that. One, I feel like that perfectly captures Gene's character.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And
scrotal wax.
That killed me. And then, like, I love Tina's. I know I act tough, but I'm really not.
It's so good. Me and my siblings, we like to like assign characters to each other. So I have a younger brother and sister, and they say that I would be Gene in the group, and then Caden, my younger brother, would be Tina, and my youngest sister would probably be Louise. So
gotcha. The only reason I'm gonna say I can see this, and I'm gonna embarrass you a little bit, is when we were working at Foxtrot, I was talking to you, and there was another girl there about your age, and you both ran out with your arms straight back. And I was like, what did I just watch? And so later on, I came to you and I'm like, hey, is this something I don't know about? And you're like, oh, that's the anime run. That's why you run fast. I was like, oh, okay. And
What's funny is that I don't remember that, but I totally believe that happening. Like that definitely happened.
Oh, it's just funny because there was like a little bit of a glass window, and I see you both leave, and then both of you running the same way, and I was just like, so it shows my age. I was like, what are you kids doing?
I never really know what I'm doing.
So have you ever had a time where, like, have you ever committed that much to a friend or had a friend commit that much to you? And we can hold off on some talk until the next clip if you want. So,
I mean, I will have to bring up my fiance. I feel like he is definitely a commit to the bit kind of person.
Nice.
And that's something I really appreciate about him. I mean, I'm sure if I wanted to go get my legs waxed, like he would too, just to be there with me and endure it. And I think as like Bob, as this character, as like a dad to his kids, it's so refreshing to see in like adult animation where like the father really just wants the best for his kids and cares about them and will do anything for them. And I hate to be a little bit of a romantic, but I see that in Rob, where he would 1000% do that for our daughter or anything like that. So
that's
I totally
that's amazing. That should be like find somebody who will be willing to get waxed with you like Bob.
Yes, that's the standard. That's a new standard. Yes.
No, that's great. I think having that commitment to someone is like, it goes a long ways. Because I mean, I think about how easy it could have been for Bob to just say, no, you said you were going to do this. You have to commit. And I do love when she was like, it's the time you got the flu shot to show me it was okay. And he was like, I was pretty brave.
It's so good.
No, I do like your point. You're right, especially in animation. You know, usually the gag is like the dad, you know, isn't really there. I mean, Homer's half-assed. Peter Griffin's pretty much non-existent. And then the Great North follows that Bob's Burgers trope, where it's a dad who wants what's best for his family. So I think that's really good. I do like the family for that, and just their, like, they can just be genuine with each other and they accept each other for that. And
like very supportive.
Yeah. And I don't know how often that happens in families of like, you know, I definitely felt like an outcast to my family for most of my life, of like, I'm the sensitive one, when the rest of my, like my uncle and my dad, their way of dealing, like their kindness to each other was calling each other dickheads. It'd just be like, oh, hey, dickhead. And I'm like, can't we just talk nicely? Can I call you buddy? So, but I'm trying to think if I had somebody who like committed that much to me. And I know I have. I think my person, his name was Nathaniel. He was my manager who brought me into leadership. And he was just by my side, helping me grow. And he took on a lot of fire to get me where I was. Like, a lot of people didn't feel like I was ready. And he was like, no, Joe's the guy. He's the guy. And he got me into that position because he was just determined. And so,
you definitely carried that mindset from him, like having worked under you. Definitely you, like, it was ride or die, like just making sure that I had everything I need to be successful and setting me up for success, and then wanting me to stay with the company. And I appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. Like,
no, thank you.
It should be a compliment to Nathaniel that you carried that legacy like from him.
That is the greatest compliment I can receive. Yes, definitely a huge influence. And I love that you say that, because that example Bob just did for his kids, they're going to bring that to their kids.
Right.
And like living that example out. I mean, I do get excited when I hear like guys like your fiance, because I think we're getting better, but I still, I'm there's another podcast I'm going to be on. It's about dads. And we were talking about like, it feels like there's a very low bar for dads.
Yes.
Yes. He was telling me about like, he goes to the park with his kids and everybody's like, oh, is your wife at work? Or, oh, and it's like, no, I'm just being with my kids.
Right.
And same thing for me. Like for when I was younger, or my boys were younger and I took them to Target, everybody was like, oh, look at this guy. And I'm like, really? That's what I'm getting? Like, that should be a normal thing. So
I totally agree.
Like don't just find that low bar and cross it, like set the bar high. And I think that's what Bob does.
For sure.
I almost feel like he's a good he almost feels like a little bit of a boomer to me, but he's entering the world of these young kids.
Yes.
And not, I don't know. It is, we never really dove deep on our other Bob's Burgers about the dynamic of Bob's family. And what is there an episode you can think of that really moved you? I know we have another clip that probably is part of it, but between Bob's family, is there ever an episode that you were like, oh, that was so sweet?
I can't really think off of the top of my so I think the episode where oh my gosh, it was Tina's like 13th birthday party, and she wanted to invite Jimmy Jr. from across the street to this party. And like obviously Bob and Jimmy Jr.'s father are like sworn enemies.
Yeah.
And throughout the episode, like at the end of it, he like Jimmy Jr.'s dad like wants Bob's mustache like as a ransom in order to make Jimmy Jr. go over to the party to go see Tina. And at the end of the episode, Bob ends up doing it. I mean, and giving him his mustache, but also like working late, like for extra money for the party.
Yeah.
And that's one of my favorite episodes because it just really shows Bob's dedication to his kids and the lengths that he would go to. Yeah. And it's a great representation that there are fathers like that out there. Mm-hmm. And it's really touching, like for me, and very makes my heart really warm and happy. Yeah. But at the end of the episode, Tina's like, no, don't shave your mustache. And he already had it in a little plastic baggie. He already shaved his mustache already. He's like, Tina, you're a little bit late for that.
See, mine is actually with Tina and Bob too. I don't remember the episode, but I do remember like it's going through memories of him having Tina in the kitchen with him and making burgers. And I just love that idea of bringing your kids into what you love to bond with them. And then eventually you go into what they love. So like for me and my oldest, we've watched Godzilla movies together. So I'm like, I like this. So we watched it and he's very into it. We watched the Meg movies and like we both kind of love that monster. And we watched all the Jurassic Park series and he loves it all. It was like, it's always a good bonding moment. But now some of the stuff he's getting into, even though I'm like, I don't like skippity toilet. Do not.
I can't believe you just said that.
Like, I'm like, I don't understand this, but my kids like it.
That's amazing.
So
that's amazing.
But we cut it off with the sound skippity doo 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 skippity doo, and I'm like, okay, all right, let's. And it's funny now. There's a song that usually goes with it. The Everybody Wants to Rule the World.
Yep.
And so they are convinced that is Skippity Toilet Song.
No.
So whenever they hear it in the store, they're like, Skippity Toilet Song. And I'm like, this song came out in the 80s. And they're like, no, it's the Skippity Toilet Song. And I'm like, okay.
It's okay. It's just only one of the best 80s songs ever created, but it's fine. It's Skippity Doo.
I guess it was created for a guy's head sticking out of a toilet. Sure.
And that's how life is sometimes.
Yeah. So we've kind of been talking about like family dynamics and so forth. I want to switch over to another clip of, let's see, it's 2 minutes. Maybe we'll watch this whole thing as a refresher. So we covered this episode in another episode, but I wanted to talk with you about it because I know you have some insights to share with it. But this is from the episode, The Magical Ruby. It's not magical, but like it's something with magic. Yeah, Amazing Rudy. Yep. And so this is this clip kind of sets some stuff up of what leads them to what we're looking for is the end scene with Jean and Louise. For those who remember the episode, it's about Rudy going to a family dinner with his mom and dad and their significant others, and just the uncomfortability that comes with it. And it's really well done. Like it's not played for laughs. It's just, you feel it.
Right.
And so this is, his magic trick goes wrong. He feels so bad, he leaves. And so these are just some quick takes of what happens to the end. So we'll watch them.
Are you all right?
Oh, yeah, totally. That's okay. Thank you for nice to meet you.
And good night to you. And good night to you. And good night to you. And good night to you. And good night to you. And to you, Kevin.
Come in! Actually, don't come in. We're coming out. I gotta go take the soup lasagna out of the oven.
What happened to your dinner thing? You get stood up?
Oh, it got moved around.
Great. Now you can have gross lasagna with us.
Yeah, go on up. Did your parents drop you off?
Oh, yep. Yeah, they dropped me off.
Okay, I'll just finish by myself.
Great idea, Dad. That's why you're the boss.
Rudy, reaction.
One word, groundbreaking. It's definitely better than what I ordered.
What you ordered?
Rudy, are you sure your parents know where you are?
Oh, yeah. I asked them if I could come over, and they said, oh, yeah.
Okay, but maybe I should give them just a quick call. You with your dad this weekend, right? He was at the mall?
Yeah, either. You can call either. They're together. They're not together, but it's complicated.
But if you had to pick one...
To call.
Yeah, to call. Not pick one, like pick one. God, sorry.
Well... This has been fun, but I should get going. Get back to my family.
But you just got here.
I just, I kinda walked out of dinner with my mom and her boyfriend and my dad and his Vicky. We were all eating dinner together for the first time, which I guess is how family dinners are gonna be from now on. And I did a magic trick, and it was gonna be pretty good, but I messed it up. And I guess, technically I ran away.
Wait, what?
Oh, boy.
They think I'm in the bathroom at the restaurant, so, I should go.
I'm gonna try your dad again. And maybe your mom, too.
Just to let them know that you're safe.
Right, yeah, right.
And why don't I just drive Rudy back and walk him in? That'll be fine.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was really nice.
Yeah, of course, hon.
I'm just gonna wait out here. If it's okay,
Can I walk Rudy back?
What?
Can I walk back to the restaurant with him?
It's kind of dark.
Yeah, it's not a problem. I can get my brass knuckles. Anyone messes with us on the way, you dazzle them with magic, and I'll dazzle them with pain.
That's my girl.
Brass knuckles? They'll be totally fine.
No, I know. I just wanted to watch. Sweet girl we got there.
She is sometimes, isn't she?
Emily, why am I the only one sitting at the table?
So that encompass most of it. I think a couple things is she doesn't just walk them to the restaurant, she joins them.
Right. Yep.
And one thing I didn't notice this the first time around, but this time I realized you can see Louise scoping out the situation. She's just looking at him, and you can tell she's processing, like, oh, he's going through something.
Right. Right.
And especially with, I talked a lot about, like, I felt that with my parents being divorced, because the first few years of, after their divorce, family holidays were terrible. So
I can imagine.
And it got to a point for a while, I didn't go because it was just so uncomfortable. So I definitely related to that. What was something that stuck out to you with that whole clip?
Oh my gosh. I mean, this whole episode made me cry. Because it was such a big tonal shift.
Yes.
From like an uplifting, like witty jokes, how Bob's Burgers is, where now cut to a very serious episode about kindness and representation. Of, since Bob's Burgers has this kind of ideal, like awkward family dynamic, shedding light on families that are possibly like divorced or blended families is such an important thing to people like us who have grown up in very divorced households or very turbulent households, where navigating that as a kid is so hard.
Yeah.
So hard and confusing. And I think this episode totally just resonated with the child version of myself. And it was really wonderful also at the end, where Louise was processing what was going on with Rudy and stepped up, and just an act of kindness just made the world of a difference for Rudy. And I can think back to when I was a kid, my friend Maya, she was my first friend growing up, so she was there for all of it. And I really appreciated her because not only her, but her family, her mom and her dad, were so helpful, especially during my mom's divorce. And I hope like this isn't like too like,
no, this is what this is here for.
Right? Okay,
no,
cool.
This is what, please, this is great stuff.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so helpful because the situation with my dad wasn't good. And I won't really touch on that too much. I know you know a little bit, but what wasn't great. So Maya and her mom and her dad, we would go over to their house for babysitting a lot of the times because my mom was a single working mom, and it took care of us. It took care of me and my siblings like family. And I don't feel like, because of them, I don't feel robbed of those moments as a child. Like I still had a support system.
Wow.
And I'm so grateful to Maya and people who will go out of their way to be kind. It makes the world of a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Mr. Rogers covers a couple things. One of them is he always talked about, his mom always said, in times of trouble, there are always helpers.
Yes.
Look for the
Yes.
helpers. And I'm so grateful you found helpers during that time. Because that's definitely a confusing thing. And I think too, like as it related to you, I think why it relates so well is I think in other shows they would have like made it super crazy and wild, but it was. I mean, they have some funny bits. Like I like the line where he's like, "Party of 5, like the show." I don't know that. Yeah, you do. I was born in 2000.
Right.
Oh,
right.
But overall, it's very. You're right. Like you said, tonal shift, and you feel for Rudy. I named that episode "Regular Size Rudy Breaks Our Heart."
Yeah.
Because it is heartbreaking to see him go through that and to try to mask the pain when he's walking by the lady.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've all had that. And, it's tricky too, because I know for me, like I was fortunate enough, like my parents divorced when I was out of the house.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that made it easier.
Yeah.
But I know when they did, my mom started dating right away.
Mm-hmm.
And I know like they were going through stuff. So I want to be really respectful and not diss on my family. But they really were like, "Oh, you got to meet my partner. You got to meet my partner." And I was like, "I'm not ready to." And it kind of felt like I was a bad guy because I wasn't ready for that. And so I like that this kind of gives us permission to be like, you know what? Yeah, maybe it wasn't a good fit. And maybe in the end, this is the best, but there's still some pain that comes with it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I went through the same thing. When my parents got divorced, my mom, met my wonderful stepdad, Brad. Very, and another, he would be another one of those people that I'm really grateful for, like helpers for the whole situation, because he was above and beyond like helpful to my mom during that process. And they like were just dating, and he didn't have to like go out of his way to like come to be a chaperone like at my school and like just be this father figure for me. But he did. And my point was like she started dating pretty early on too after the divorce, met Brad. But and at that time I was 11, and I was not okay with it at first. Like Brad was so like nice and said like, "Can I have your blessing, to like marry your mom?" And I remember like not giving him my blessing because I was so like, I don't know. I was going through a lot of feelings and trying to navigate like life. So I totally relate to you on that one.
Yeah, exactly. And I think one thing I'm thinking about too with what you're saying is how, like with Louise, she doesn't try to make Rudy feel better. Like she's not like, "Hey, it's going to be okay, buddy." She just is with him. And I think that's a lot of impact that you experience. Wasn't people coming and being like, "Hey, Andy, it's going to be okay. It's not your." They took you in. They went to chapel. They chaperoned you. Chaperoned. Chaperoned. They chaperoned you. I'm going to edit it out so it sounds like I said it the first time.
Right. You definitely did.
But whenever I say that, I always don't edit it. So
no, it's staying in.
it's funnier if you hear me say that. But I think about that too with for me, the person who is there for me during my parents' divorce is, "We're not getting divorced, honey."
This is how no. Yeah.
But his name was Derek. And he was such a supportive friend. I think the moment that stands out the most. So I was at my church, and it was this moment of like, this is a place where my family used to be whole.
Mm-hmm.
And like during my parents' divorce, like it was messy, it was bad. And in 1 month, I had both my parents, my mom kind of say like, hey, I'm just not doing well. I can't be your mom right now. And my grandparents telling me like, your dad's in the tough place. He just can't be there for you right now. And my brother was unable to deal with the situation. So he was just with his wife. And I felt so alone during that time.
Right. Yeah.
And so I was at this church and I was like near tears, just looking in. I'm like, I need anybody to say anything to me. I want somebody to just say, hey, you okay? Anything. They could have even said, excuse me. And I would have been like, it's not going well. But like nobody said anything. Nobody stopped. And I was like, I'm just going to leave. And I turn and Derek's coming in. He doesn't know anything that's going on. He comes right up to me and hugs me.
Oh.
And I was like, I needed that. And he was like, oh, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing well. He's like, all right, let's get out of here. And so we went out and he was continuously there as a support. And just those little moments that you don't think, it's almost always those little moments you don't think will be it. But those are like the defining moments for us.
Exactly.
And one thing I'm trying to teach people who I work with, my biggest regret growing up is not realizing I could make a difference. Always feeling like, no, I don't matter. I can't do anything. And so, I hope people listening to this maybe think of somebody in their life who's like, oh, maybe I can just walk beside them. I think my favorite, what I always talk to people about who are going through it, 'cause it's tempting just to be like, hey, everything's going to be okay. Renee Brown has a great video on empathy where it's like sympathy is like, oh, you had a miscarriage, at least you can get pregnant. Or, oh, like, your marriage is falling apart, at least you have a marriage. Like trying to find silver lining. But I there's a King of the Hill that I love that I just talk about dealing with struggles. And so the whole scene is, quick recap, there's a character named Boomhauer. He's a huge ladies' man. He like sleeps with a new girl every week. And then there's Bill, who's just this loser. And there's a girl who goes jogging every day. And he's like, I want to talk to her. So he decides to dig into the road to create a bunch of potholes. So she'll trip and fall so he can help her. And she does. So he tries to go help her, but he keeps tripping over everything. Can't get to her. And then Boomhauer comes and gets her and goes in and like he gets with her. And so Bill's furious. Well, Boomhauer ends up falling for this girl. He falls in love with her, but he's just one guy on her list. He means nothing to her. So at the end, like midway through, he goes to her house to propose to her, and there's another guy there, and they just like laugh at him. And so then Boomhauer's in this depressed state, and like Hank and Dale, his two married friends, are trying to get him out of the funk. They take him to a cross guard lady, and they're like, okay, go do your magic. And then like he talks to her, and they're coming back to the car, and they're like, oh, they're coming back to make out, pretend like you're asleep. But she's like, just get this poor guy home. So Boomhauer is just at this terrible place. Hank and Dale are just like, they're there. And then Bill comes busting in. He's like, you amateurs. And he takes Boomhauer out, and they go to the football field. And Bill says, right now you're in a tunnel. There's a light coming towards you, and it's filled with heartache. The only thing you can do is let it hit you. And then you find your legs and you try to walk out. And I think that's so true. Like sometimes we just get hit, and there's no dodging it. There's nothing. It's just you are hit, and you just hope there's somebody who's going to walk out of that tunnel with you.
Yeah. Yeah. I lately what has been helping me with hard and difficult situations is the only way out is through. So just, whatever comes my way, just get through it, and another day will come.
Yeah.
And everything will be okay. Anticipating, life is going to be a roller coaster.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be static. So just knowing that the only way out is through, and you become a better person for it because you experienced it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think too, a lot of beauty can come out of that pain.
Yeah, no doubt.
I mean, my guess is somebody on Bob's Burgers staff experienced something like this.
For sure.
And they brought that pain to the show, which helped others. I know, like a lot of people I work with, they do a lot of like spoken poetry, or they do rap songs about the pain, and they just create something really beautiful out of this pain. And so I think that's, it's never like, obviously you wish you could go without it, but for me, like, I'm a peer support specialist. I work with people who are in mental health crisis, but I could not have done this without me going through what I went through.
Right.
And
like
so
empathizing.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think I just love, and I love, we didn't totally cover this, but Louise is usually kind of savage.
Yes. Yes. Like when she doesn't need to be.
Yeah.
She is.
And she's a fun character. And but I like this, tone shift for her where she does see it. And so, yeah, I just think that's such a cool, both those clips are cool, of like showing family support. And like, it really, I've told this story on the podcast, but this always illustrates the importance of the little moments.
Right.
So when I was 16, I just got my driver's license, and I went to church to meet my youth director, who I really liked, and huge mentor for me. And I went in, his car was the only car in the parking lot. And I thought to myself, how funny would that be if I hit the car? I did not hit the car. Everybody's faces drop when I do. I'm like, no, I didn't hit it. I just thought it would be funny. And so I pulled beside him, giggled to myself. I go in, and I go to him and I go, Matt, what would you do if I ran into your car? And he goes, it's just a car. And that was the first moment I ever realized I was more important than a thing.
Wow.
And that sticks with me. I've told him this story. He's like, I don't remember it. And I'm like, why would you? To you, that was probably like no big deal. But for me, that was life-changing.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So those little things, just taking that extra time to listen to somebody, to show interest, to listen to what they're going through. I mean, it's just huge.
A simple act of kindness can change somebody's life.
Yeah, exactly. Truly. So before we move on to some questions, I always ask, is there anything else you want to cover that you don't feel like we covered?
I think, yeah, I mean, I think I got everything. I really wanted to hit on the Rudy episode, so I'm glad that we had a good thorough conversation about that. So
definitely.
Yeah.
So, okay. So I ask all my guests 3 questions towards the end.
Okay.
The first question is, which clip was more meaningful to you?
Ooh. It would be really close, but probably the Rudy episode. Definitely. Yeah, just like coming from experience, and it resonated with me very deeply. And I knew before coming on to this podcast, I wanted to talk about Bob's Burgers, And I know it was a last minute thing to talk about the Rudy episode, but
Yeah.
I knew that if I didn't talk about it, I would regret it.
Yeah.
Because it just impacted me so greatly. So
no, I'm so glad you brought it up.
yeah.
And I actually, just because being a dad, the first clip like meant a little more, because I'm like, I want to have that commitment to my kids.
Absolutely.
That whatever they're going through, I'm going to go through it with them.
Yes. And from knowing you, that's definitely spot on for you.
Well, thanks.
So, yes.
Second question is, which clip did you feel we got the most discussion or meaningful discussion out of?
I think I liked both conversations for sure. I think the Rudy episode, I'll say that again, because I mean, diving into like personal experience, I think that one hit home a little bit more.
I agree. I feel like the first clip was like, this is a great model to shoot for. Right. And the second clip was, we've lived this.
Right.
So yeah, I think it came more naturally. And I always feel bad for the first clip, because the first clip's like kind of warm up. By the time we get to the second clip, we're all like, yeah, because the tagline to this podcast is "No time like Joe time," where TV gets deep for no reason.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's perfect. Final question is, if we had to do a deep dive, if we had to take one of these clips and just analyze everything, which clip would you want to analyze?
Ooh. I'll say the first clip that we did.
Yeah.
Because I think this, like, the first clip can also like be connected to the second clip too, of like having family dynamics and how Bob is kind of this ideal like father figure, and then in the second clip where there's that almost like the absence of it a little bit, and there's different layers to it, but I think I would like to analyze the full first clip, because it's a little bit lighter, it's a little bit more like, funny, but like it is layered, it's deep.
Exactly. I would agree with you, because I wouldn't mind touching on like looking at Gene as an example, even though he doesn't know what they're going through. He's not saying, hey, get over it, he's screaming too. And so I just like that idea of like, even if you don't know what somebody's going through, you can still to a degree meet them. You're like, sounds painful.
For sure.
So last thing for you is, so what I usually will tell people for sure, like if anybody watches this episode and they're like, I want to reach out and tell Andy she did great, they can leave comments on the YouTube. But are there
the YouTube
on the old YouTube?
Ye old comment section.
Yeah, you ever say something and you're like, wow, I'm old. That was one of those times. Never called it the YouTube before.
The YouTube. Yeah.
I think I was trying to say on YouTube on the comment. We'll say that.
Nope, the YouTube. You were right the first time.
Be great if after this episode was released, like a week later, it was like, YouTube is changing its name to the YouTube.
You were ahead of your time.
I was. But is there any like social media or anything like that you want to promote? Totally don't have to, but just if there's anything you wanted to put out there.
Sure. My Instagram is actually Punkowski. So it's PUNKOWSKE, because I'm a little punk. And I am a graphic designer. I just graduated from Grand Canyon University with my bachelor's in advertising and graphic design. So
awesome.
My Behance is just going to be Andrea Bonkowski. So that's my portfolio of work. If you want to check it out, that would be cool.
Hey, Editing Joe here. Since the last time we recorded this, Andy has something new on the horizon, and I wanted to make sure it got promoted. So she's now the co-founder of a company called The Viking and the Punk, and it is where her and her partner work on graphic design, branding services, and unique paintings. What's really cool about this is Andy donates half of all the proceeds to charity, which, is pretty cool. So websites are going to be, that website's going to be launched at the end of September. So keep an eye on that. Get your stuff from there. She's very talented. I'm still drawing stick figures. So, I mean, pay me, I'll make that for you.
So
Keep an eye open for her, and you'll see her doing great things. And I'll remind her, like when you hit it big, don't forget about your old friend Joe.
Never. I'll never forget.
Well, this has been an absolute treat and pleasure for me. I am so grateful you were willing to come on and do this. It made my week.
Me too. This was nice.
Excellent. Well, thank you again, Andy. And for everybody else, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.